Welcome back to Kansas City. Today, we're going to chat about something that a lot of people have a hard time putting their fingers on. And in fact, it's one of the most indicative things of the way you see the world is how you define this very simple word. The word is fair. What does fair mean? What is fair? Now, outside of a county fair or a fair-skinned or fair-haired person, fair is a way to personify a couple of different positions inside of people's minds. Some people see fair as everyone gets what they are deserving of. And that's a merit-based type of fair. There's another fair that says everyone gets the exact same. And that's an egalitarian type of fair. Now, this becomes a very important conversational piece whenever you're dealing with pooled assets among a group of people, which if we remember the history of insurance, insurance is a pooled asset mechanism. Now, insurance is a private mechanism to do that, so it's the third type of money rather than the fourth type, which is the state. So you have private money that is pooled and trying to divvy it out in a way in which all of the members inside of that feel is fair. Now, this is nebulous, right? This is a very difficult question, but we're going to go through fair in regards to charge masters, RBP, and PPO reimbursements today in this short conversation. So we're going to start at charge master. What is a hospital's charge master? A charge master is a list, a menu of all of the services that a hospital provides and the corresponding cost on each one of those items. And there are thousands of items that the hospital or the provider provides. That charge master is effectively full freight. That charge master is the menu at your Burger King or wherever you go to lunch, your local restaurant. It's the menu. All right. A PPO says, okay, here's the menu of all these prices. I've got the frequent diner card. I've got the card that all the local football players sell to me for 20% off at Sonic or whatever you guys have locally. Okay. This entitles me to the charge master less a percentage. That's called a percentage off billed. And in general, that's how medical pricing works in the United States. The hospital says it costs X, but because you are with X, Y, or Z PPO, we're going to bill you Y, which is less than X. Now, we have an additional way to do things, which is called RBP. RBP is the system that says, okay, we know what your menu price is, and frankly, that's silly. Nobody pays full freight. The only people that even believe that that's real are the uninitiated. So we're not going to act like we're idiots. We're going to discount that entirely. And we're going to look at what you take from your biggest payer. And your biggest payer is the government or the state. The state pays you $150 for this service. So because we are such nice people, we're going to pay you $150 or 50% more than the state takes on that same procedure. Seems like a nice deal, right? Well, depends on how you define the word fair. Now, to guys like us, guys in the market, guys that fight for private enterprise and small business, we see that as, well, we're actually overpaying. If we're paying more than what the biggest guys are paying, why are we penalizing the little man? If I'm fighting for Main Street, then why am I allowing my guys to get fleeced? This is ridiculous. The position of the hospital is, well, the government system doesn't pay us enough. You have to subsidize them. Effectively, we are socializing medicine through Medicare and Medicaid currently because the reimbursements are below what the hospitals need to stay in business. So the hospitals are saying, yeah, but it's not fair because I'm getting hosed over here. And it's not fair because I've got a bunch of people who aren't paying their bills at all. So I've got to charge you more because I'm getting hosed on the other side of the transaction. So how do we arrive at fair? Well, because our system is probably not going to go back to the doctor fix, in which during the early 90s, the Clinton administration and the Gingrich Congress, they really hosed the private sector. And what they did is they changed the inflation calculation inside of these reimbursements, the largest reimbursements to providers. And they said, well, you're going to get less and less every year because we're going to calculate inflation at the beginning of the year. And it just so happens that we're going to guess wrong on the low side 9 times out of 10. And we're never going to catch it up. And that's your problem, Mr. Hospital Administrator. It is a very slick way to use law and in my opinion, manipulation of actuarial to transfer wealth from small business owners to the government, because we have to subsidize now all of the additional monies that the hospitals, quote, need to stay in business. Now, I don't think that that's going to get fixed, and that's not fair. So now we're back to the original problem. How do we arrive at a situation where people can live with the price points between RBP, which is lower cost for the business owner, and closer to what the hospital actually accepts as paid in full, or closer to what the hospitals want, which is the PPO reimbursement rate, which is almost always higher than an RBP reimbursement? Then how do we actually, as an industry, call out a really misleading thing, which whenever you get your next bill from your hospital or your provider or your EOB, it'll say they billed $96,000. But because we're such good administrators, we got you a $40,000 discount. No, that may be true, but it's really misleading. They billed $90,000 with the full knowledge that they don't want $90,000, that they're not going to get $90,000. They use this to obscure the situation because it benefits all parties except self-funded health plans for opacity to be involved. It implies value where there is none. It is the definition, in my opinion, of unfair practices. Because when an Amish guy gets a bill for $35,000, he doesn't know that that is not what they actually expect. And when that hospital says, I'll give you 10% off if you pay in cash right now, and then they take it, that's ripping that guy off. It just grinds my gears. So whenever you're talking to your clients, whenever you're talking to hospitals, I know there's a lot of providers that listen to this, realize those charge masters are not fair, because the good people in our society see that and say, how do I come up with $90,000? And it's a bit of a predatory action on the best parts of our country to manipulate and serve the worst parts. My name's Tom Stein. If you disagree, I'd love to hear about it. How do we arrive at fair is a very difficult question. All I know is we can keep fighting for the little guy. And if it's advancements towards transparency and away from opacity, you're probably doing it right. We'll see you out there.